Eddie Van Halen coming in at number 46 on Guitar World Magazine's Top 100 Solos of All Time with Hot for Teacher. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this solo in particular. I'm going to talk about me and what Eddie Van Halen means to me, which is basically everything as far as my guitar playing goes. He was what got me started in this on this crazy instrument when I was about 14. I started off as a drummer, and I moved from my. I was living with my grandparents, and I moved in with my aunt when I was 14, and I'd been playing drums. And I had called my grandfather after a number of months, and I said, "Can you ship my drums up to me?" And he said, "I sold them." And I said, "You sold my drums?" And he said, "Yes, I didn't think you wanted them anymore." And I was, "You bastard." I said, "Well, get me something, you know." And so he sent me a guitar and an amplifier, and I did not know how to play it. I had known a couple of chords, a couple of simple things. And so here I was with a guitar and an amplifier and no idea how to play it. And not long after that, I think I was 14 years old when I heard Van Halen's first album. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to play guitar, and I want to play guitar like that. So I set to it, and I couldn't do it, of course, because I was a beginner. And but after a number of years, I worked at it, and I practiced a lot. I practiced upwards of 10 to 12 hours a day when I was 15, 16, 17 years old. And I could play some Van Halen by the time I was 17, 18 years old. And, Eddie Van, I didn't realize at the time, I didn't have any equipment. I had a cheap guitar and I had a cheap amplifier. I didn't have any effects. I didn't really understand what effects were. And I thought what Eddie was doing was just magic. The sounds he was pulling out of his guitar, I was trying to emulate them with just my cheap guitar and my cheap amp. And I couldn't do it. And so he might as well just been doing magic as far as I was concerned. I didn't realize how effects driven his sound was, atomic punk, all the scratching and Unchained, that flanged sound. I didn't have a flanger, I didn't have a phaser, I didn't know what he was doing. I was trying to just do it on my cheap little guitar and amp and having no luck with it whatsoever. So my bedroom wall was just covered in Van Halen posters. I went to see them when I was 16, front row center, just staring up at Eddie like, my God, and just an incredible experience for a 16, 17-year-old guitar player to see his idol live, right there in front of him, and it was just amazing. And then I played in some bands for about 10 years. I got my first band when I was 18, and then up until about 28, that's all I did. And I didn't work. I just traveled the country and played in different bands, and came close to making it once in Toronto, but it didn't happen. And so anyway, when I was 28 years old, I decided to give it up. I went to university and I sold all my gear, and I said, I'm done with guitar. I was quite bitter and angry at all the years and hours I'd put into it, and had seen no results, and I didn't want to play guitar as a hobby, so I basically gave it up when I was 28. And I didn't pick it back up again until last year. So for 25 years, I basically stopped playing guitar altogether. And about a year and a half ago, I picked up classical again, and I always dabbled in classical, so I picked up classical. And on my channel, there's a couple of videos I posted early on of me playing some classical. I was self-teaching myself. And then one day over dinner, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit here, because when I say Eddie Van Halen got me started on guitar, he's responsible in a roundabout way of getting me playing again, basically through my daughter. We were sitting at the dinner table one night, and my teenage daughter, who was 13 at the time, who was just a typical teenage, she had typical taste in music for a teenage girl. She listened to Taylor Swift and shit like that, Black Eyed Peas, and just, garbage top 40 music. And one day over dinner, she said, "Dad, I've been listening to Van Halen." And I had triple taked. I'm like, "You're listening to what?" Van Halen? Like, I don't think she even knew how much I loved Van Halen when I was young. And I said, "Where did you get into Van Halen?" And she said, "Well, I heard a song called Drop Dead Legs, a great song from 1984 album." And I said, "Where did you hear that?" And she said, "I heard it on a TV show." and I really liked it. And so I've been listening to it a lot, and I've been listening to some other Van Halen, and I'm like, that's amazing, Charlotte. That's fantastic, you know. And then I told her how much of a fan I was of Van Halen when I was younger. And then she became obsessed with Van Halen. She knew all the lyrics and she knew every song, and she was studying, reading their Wikipedia pages, and just nonstop Van Halen all the time. And so, you know, I had an old guitar under my bed, and I said to her, I said, "Do you want to learn how to play guitar? Because I can teach you." And she said, "Oh my God, really? I'd love to." And I said, "You know, a couple of months, I can teach you some of these, you know, Van Halen licks, you know, like maybe Ain't Talking About Love, you know, stuff, simple stuff like that." And that was one of the first riffs I ever learned on guitar. And she was thrilled. And so I bought her a guitar, and I bought her an amp, and I dusted off my old guitar, and put some strings on it and got all the dust off of it, and started doing a little practicing myself. And I was giving her lessons twice a week, and she was progressing very, very nicely, very quickly. But as a side effect, I was becoming addicted to the guitar again, which was awesome. And so after a while, after I got my fingers back up to speed again, I thought I was going to treat her. I used to know how to play Eruption 25, 26 years ago, and I figured I'm going to relearn Eruption, I'm going to put it on YouTube, and I'm going to dedicate it to her. And so I set about relearning Eruption. And so I did it. It's on my channel. You can go check it out. Maybe I'll put a little link right up here. You can go check it out. Sorry for staring into the camera so much. It was one of my first videos, and it was recorded on a phone, and I was watching myself play. I wasn't like making love to the camera. I was just watching my fingers in the camera. But so I relearned Eruption and dedicated it to her, and I put it up on YouTube, and it's gotten lots of views. I don't know, 11 or 12,000 views. And but I was re-addicted. I completely fell in love with the guitar again, and completely became re-addicted. And then I tried some other stuff. I'm like, okay, now that I can, you know, I can, at 53 years old, I can rip off Eruption. Let's try something else. So I tried Cliffs of Dover. I put myself to the real challenge of something. And so I sat down and I learned Cliffs of Dover, and it took me about 2 months. And then I recorded that and threw that up on YouTube. And then I did, I'm like, what else is hard, you know? And then I did Tender Surrender by Steve Vai, and I threw that up on YouTube. And so I was back playing again, and I was really happy, and I was off alcohol, which was really doing a number on me. And so I replaced that with the guitar, and I couldn't be happier. I'm sober, I'm happy, I'm playing again. And then I thought, well, what else can I do, you know? And then I thought, let's play all the best solos that have ever been made. And so I searched out a list, and I found the one on Guitar World magazine. And I thought, I'm going to play my way through that and see how it goes and see how long it takes me. And right now I'm a little over halfway done, and I've been working at it for about a year. And it's been a great challenge and a lot of fun. And right now we're down to number 46, and I'm very happy about that. And with Eddie Van Halen. And my inspiration to get started on this guitar when I was a young lad, and my inspiration to start all over again at 53 years old. And you know, my guitar hero. And him amongst a few others, you know, Alex Lifeson and the boys from Iron Maiden, and Steve Vai, of course. And but I'm a little late getting to this video. I usually put a week into these, and I've got some Yngwie Malmsteen coming up in the next 10, probably in another month and a half, 2 months, and it's probably going to be my most technically challenging feat on guitar that I've come across yet on this list. And I figured I'd get a head start on it. I usually give myself a week to learn these solos, and so far so good. I haven't spent more than a week on any of these, even Maggot Brain. But I knew it in my head before I started learning it. So, you know, it's not technically difficult. It's just so bloody long. And but I had listened to it maybe 200 or 300 times before I learned it. So I really knew the melody of it in my head. And so that one only took me a week, and this one only took me a couple of days to put down, this Hot for Teacher. But Ingve is going to be a different beast altogether. There's techniques I needed to learn, and so I sat down with that for the past week, and I've been working on that. So I'm a little late getting this video up this week, and so I wanted to check out the Ingve. I wanted to check out Black Star to see first of all if I could play it. And the good news is I can play it. I can play it fast enough, and I've got the whole thing down now. It just needs a whole shitload of practice. But I'm happy about that. I'm happy I can play that. And so anyway, that's it for this week. And we'll see you next week with a long one, not a technically difficult one. The next one up is Light My Fire by Robbie Krieger and the Doors. It's about 2.5 minutes long. So that's up next at 45, and then we got some Pearl Jam with Alive at 44. So I've already started working on those. So take care of yourselves. I hope you liked Hot for Teacher, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.